So what does expert management actually look like?
So the question isn't, can I afford professional marketing? The question is, can I afford not to have professional marketing?
Have that conversation with your property manager. Can you show me our number?
If your site takes more than 3 seconds to load on mobile, you've already lost 40% of your visitors.
Live from Reno, Nevada, this is the Next Level Property Management Multifamily Podcast, offering an inside look at the deals, trends, and strategies shaping the Northern Nevada multifamily market. Brought to you by Next Level Property Management, delivering over 25 years of high-performance multifamily management and consulting experience. Through data-driven insights and local market expertise, we're redefining what it means to take multifamily strategies to the next level. And now here are your hosts, T. Tran and Chris Fody.
Hey guys, welcome to the Next Level Property Management Podcast. T and Fody here with you today. And today we're kicking off our marketing series with a topic that costs investors more than any other single mistake, assuming marketing is actually being handled. We see this all the time. Property owners think that management companies are taking care of marketing, but the reality is often very different. It is costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost NOI and asset value.
And we're not here to bash other property management companies. Most of them are doing the best that they can with the resources they have, but there is a structural problem in this industry that we should talk about openly because it is leaving money on the table for property owners who don't understand what professional marketing actually requires or what it delivers.
So we're going to break down what's really happening with multifamily marketing, right? Why it matters so much for your bottom line and how to know if your property is one of the ones that's underperforming because of that. So let's say you buy a 65-unit multifamily property and average rents are $2,000 a month. You hire a property management company at 8% of gross, and you assume that marketing is actually being handled because, well, it's 2025, and of course, you have marketing. Not true. But you don't know that yet. So here's what's happening over the next 12 months. Your property sits at 88% occupancy instead of 96%. That's 5 units empty on your 65-unit building, month after month. 5 units at $2,000 a month is $10,000 in lost rent every single month. Over the year, we're talking $120,000 in lost revenue. But your bleeding doesn't stop there because you're trying to fill the units you are offering concessions. You're giving 1 to 2 months free rent to get people in the door. $2,000 a month, that's $2,000 to $4,000 per lease in concessions. So let's say you're offering 1 month free on a property with 40% annual turnover. That's 26 leases. That's $52,000 in concessions you wouldn't need if you had real demand. Then we talk about turn costs. Empty units still need maintenance. You're looking at $2,000 per turn on units that shouldn't even be vacant. On those 5 chronically vacant units cycling through the year, you're talking another $10,000. So it just gets really expensive, and here's why. You're desperate to fill the units. You're not being selective. You're approving someone with marginal credit, maybe spotty rental history. 6 months later, you're going through the eviction process. Now you're spending another $10,000 in legal fees and lost rent because of this eviction and damages. Your lead quality was poor, and then this happens more than once. So here we are at nearly $200,000 in direct costs, but that's not even the painful part.
The painful part is what this does to your asset value. So let me walk you through the math because this is where most investors don't connect the dots. So again, you have that 65-unit property, and let's say $2,000 per month generates $130,000 in gross monthly income. On a well-run property, expenses run about 30%. So that means your NOI is going to be $91K per month or about $1 million annually. And at a 5% cap rate, your asset's going to be worth about $21.84 million. But you're not running at 96% occupancy with 30% expenses. You're at 88% occupancy, and when properties underperform operationally, expenses start to creep up. Instead of 30%, you're running at 40% to 50% because of higher turnover costs, aggressive concessions, and increased marketing spend that's just not working. So let's be conservative and say you're at 40% expenses. Your NOI drops significantly. The difference in asset value between a well-run property at 96% occupancy with 30% expenses versus a poorly run property at 88% occupancy with 40% expenses, we're talking about a $3 to $4 million loss in asset value. So you didn't just have a bad year, you lost $3 to $4 million in equity. And if you were planning to refinance or sell, you can't, not at full value. Lenders see that 88% occupancy and those 40% expenses, and they either decline the loan or offer terrible terms. Buyers see the same numbers and discount heavily. So you're trapped in an underperforming asset, and the longer it goes on, the harder it is to fix.
So here's the kicker. Our marketing costs surprise most property owners. They think it's expensive. And yeah, compared to Facebook posts included in your management fee, it is expensive. But do you know what surprises us? The revenue loss, the NOI destruction, and the asset value hits we see at properties with bad or non-existent marketing. That's the difference we're going to break down today. So we're going to show you what's actually happening with marketing at most properties, why it's broken, what professional marketing actually costs and delivers, and ding, ding, how to know if you're one of the properties bleeding money right now.
And we're going to answer the objections we hear all the time from investors. Shouldn't marketing be included in the management fee? Aren't the ILS sites good enough?
By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly what questions to ask your property manager, what metrics to look at, and why you're leaving millions on the table.
So let's get into it, starting with what marketing is included actually means at most properties, because it's probably not what you think.
Yeah, so when a property management company says marketing is included, here's what that actually means 99% of the time. They're going to post your listing on apartments.com, which you're already paying for separately as an ILS fee, by the way. That's not marketing. You're doing the bare minimum. They might post on Facebook a few times a month if the leasing agent remembers and has time between showings and processing applications, handling resident complaints, and coordinating maintenance. So basically, marketing is happening when nothing else is happening. And I will tell you, it's very rare that nothing else is ever happening. Your leasing agent is busy. They are wearing 12 different hats, and social media manager is at the bottom of that list. They're not certified in Google Ads. They don't understand search algorithms. They've never built a high converting website, and they don't know the difference between SEO, GEO, and AEO. Are you making this up, Fody? Because that's a new one for me.
No, I'm not. That's real.
It's not their fault, and that is not what they're hired to do. So here's what I see operationally when marketing is not being done. Your leasing team is spending 70% of the time chasing these unqualified leads, right? Someone filled out a form on apartments.com. They're looking for a studio for $800 a month, and your least expensive unit is a 2-bedroom at $2,000 a month. So there's no funnel, there's no qualification, there's no strategy. It's just raw, unfiltered lead chaos. And then you've got your tour no-shows because the lead quality was trash. The leasing agent is showing up to give a tour. Nobody appears because the lead was never serious in the first place. So what happens? Management starts offering concessions because there's no real demand being generated. We need to fill units, so let's offer a month free. Sound familiar? That's not a marketing strategy. That is a symptom of failed marketing. Those concessions are going to kill your NOI and your valuation. Meanwhile, your team is burning out. They're trying to lease apartments with one hand tied behind their back. There's no quality leads. They don't have the proper tools or support. That is not fair to them, and it is not fair to you as an owner.
And here's the thing. This isn't about bad property managers versus good property managers. Even good property management companies struggle with marketing because it requires a completely different skill set and infrastructure. Think about what professional multifamily marketing actually requires. You need someone who's Google AdWords certified, and that's not a weekend course. That's like a deep understanding of search algorithms, quality score mechanics, ad auction dynamics, real-time bid management. And this stuff changes constantly. Google rolls out updates every few months. Facebook changes their algorithm. The platforms evolve, and you have to evolve with them. So when a property management company says, we'll handle the marketing, I always ask, who on your team is doing this? And here's what we usually hear. Oh, our leasing agent took a course, or we hired a third-party marketing company. And those third-party marketing companies, let me just be honest, they're often terrible. We've taken over properties that had third-party specialized apartment marketing companies, and their performance was just terrible. They either don't specialize in apartments, or they're general real estate marketers trying to apply single-family strategies to multifamily. Or they claim they specialize, but they have no idea what they're doing.
So that's what we're going to unpack in this series, right? We're going to break down what professional marketing actually looks like, the channels, the different strategies, the metrics, the technology. Because when you understand what real marketing requires, you'll understand why it can't be included in your basic management fee.
So before we talk about what marketing costs, we should talk about what marketing actually is. Because most investors have no idea. They think marketing is posting on social media or running some ads. And that's like saying accounting is just adding some numbers in a spreadsheet. Professional multifamily marketing is a whole ecosystem. It's multiple channels working together, each requiring specific expertise, and they're all feeding into a coordinated system and strategy. So let me break down what we're actually talking about here. First, you've got your visibility optimization, and that's things like SEO, GEO, and AEO. And that's making sure when someone searches for apartments in your area, you're actually showing up. We're going to do a whole episode on this because it's technical and it's foundational, but just know this isn't something you set up once. It's ongoing work. And then you've got your paid advertising. This is things like Google search ads, Google display ads, Facebook, Instagram, potentially TikTok, depending on your target demographic. Each platform has its own rules, its own algorithms, its own best practices. So you can't just boost a post and call it advertising. And then you've got your website. It's probably the most underestimated piece of the puzzle. Your website's your 24/7 leasing agent. So it's got to load fast, it's got to convert high and represent your property accurately, and then also integrate with all your other marketing channels. A template site really doesn't do any of that.
And then there's the design work that nobody ever talks about.
That's right. Brand consistency across all of your channels. Professional photography and videography, graphics for social media, ad creatives that actually convert, email templates, print materials if you're doing any offline marketing. This all requires actual design expertise, not just someone who knows how to use Canva.
What? We love Canva, right?
No, we do. Canva's powerful. It's a good tool.
There's also reputation management, review monitoring, response systems, strategic outreach to get good reviews. And all of this has to tie back to operations. If the property is not delivering a good experience, no amount of marketing can fix that.
And here's what most people miss. All of these channels have to work together. Your website needs to support your ad campaigns. Your SEO strategy needs to align with your paid search strategy. Your social media needs to drive traffic to your website. Your reputation management feeds into your SEO. So it's all an integrated system, not just a bunch of random tactics. So when investors say just post on Facebook or just run some Google ads, what they don't realize is they're asking for one piece of a puzzle without the rest of the puzzle pieces. And that piece by itself doesn't do anything.
This is exactly why you just can't hand this to your leasing agent. It can't be included in your management fee. It's a full-time job, and actually it's multiple full-time jobs. It requires specialized expertise in each area.
In the next few episodes of this series, we're going to break down each of these components in detail. But for today, you just need to understand this. Marketing is a system. It's not a tactic. And that system has real costs because it requires real expertise.
All right, so let's actually talk about the numbers, Fody, because this is where our investors and owners get it, or they don't. What does professional multifamily marketing actually cost?
So here's what we see in the market. Amateur marketing, and by amateur, I mean someone's leasing agent posting on Facebook, maybe running a few poorly optimized ads. That costs about $5 to $10 per unit is what I've seen. And like on a 65-unit property, that comes out to about $325 to $650 per month in marketing costs. And you get what you pay for. Poor lead quality, high cost per lead, low conversion rates, and no real strategy. Then professional marketing, this is something that's an integrated system like we just described. Typically, I see this cost from $25 to $35 per unit per month. And on that same 65-unit property, that's about $1,600 to $2,200 per month. So let's just call it $2,000 per month or $24,000 annually. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds like a lot, especially compared to the $500 per month the other property manager quoted. So let's break down what you're actually getting for that money.
It's not just about what you spend. It's what you're getting in return, right?
Exactly. So for that $2,000 per month, here's what's included. Active management of Google search ads and display campaigns, that daily bid adjustment, keyword optimization, ad creative testing, landing page optimization, Facebook and Instagram campaigns with proper audience targeting, creative rotation, and budget allocation based on performance, SEO work, technical optimization, content updates, local search strategies, GEO targeting for hyperlocal searches, AEO positioning for voice search and AI responses, professional design work, ad creatives, social media graphics, email templates, print materials, and then also the maintenance of your website. So not just keeping it running, but continuous conversion rate optimization, and that's based on the user behavior data. And then it also includes reputation management, review monitoring, response strategies, strategic outreach for positive reviews. And here's the critical part. All of this is being done by people who actually know what they're doing. Google AdWords certified professionals, designers who understand UX and UI design principles, SEO specialists who stay current on algorithm changes, not your leasing agent trying to figure it all out on YouTube.
So I needed a dictionary based on half of the stuff that you were saying, I didn't even understand what you were saying. You were throwing out all these amazing terms. And I was like, yeah, that sounds right. That sounds real good. So, what is the alternative to that? You spend $500 per month on someone posting to Facebook 3 times a week. That would be me. That is not marketing. It's just throwing money away while your property is not performing.
And let's talk about ROI because that's what actually matters. So you're spending $24,000 per year on professional marketing, but what are you getting in return for that? Let's start with the most obvious, occupancy. The difference between 88% and 96% occupancy on, let's say, a 65-unit property at $2,000 per month is 5 units. So that's going to be $10,000 per month in revenue or $120,000 annually. So you just paid for your marketing 5 times over with the occupancy alone. But the thing is, it's not just about occupancy. It's the quality of your occupancy. So with professional marketing driving qualified leads, your leasing team isn't wasting time on tire kickers. They're spending time with prospects who are actually ready to lease. And that means higher conversion rates, which means less time vacant between residents. And here's something else most people don't think about. When you have real demand, you don't need concessions. We talked about concessions earlier, and here's where it gets interesting. Most operators don't include concessions in their marketing costs when they calculate cost per lease. And technically, yes, they're different line items in your accounting. But let's be real, a $2,000 concession is absolutely a cost of acquiring that resident. So when we calculate true cost per lease, we include everything: ad spend, ILS fees, design work, SEO investment, and yes, concessions, because that's the real cost. And when you have professional marketing that's generating real demand, your concessions drop dramatically or they disappear entirely. So on that same 65-unit property with 40% annual turnover, that's 26 leases per year that you're going to need. And if you're offering 1 month free on each lease, that would be $52,000 in concessions that year. Professional marketing that eliminates the need for concessions just paid for itself twice over.
And we haven't even touched the big one yet.
That's right, asset value. Because everything we've talked about, higher occupancy, lower concessions, better resident quality, all of that flows through your NOI. And as we know, the NOI drives your asset value. So let's just use conservative numbers. Professional marketing increases your occupancy by 5%, eliminates $50,000 in annual concession costs, and it helps you maintain a 30% expense ratio instead of letting it creep to 40%. So on that 65-unit property at $2,000 per month rents, that's conservatively $200,000 in additional annual NOI. And at a 5% cap rate, that's $4 million in additional asset value. So you spent $24,000, but that was to create $4 million in asset value. That's not expensive. That's the best investment you can make at your property.
And so here is the part that kills me, right? We have investors that will spend 50 grand on new appliances or fresh coat of paint because they can see it and touch it. They can't get their mind around spending the 24 grand on marketing because it's intangible, right? Meanwhile, the marketing is creating 160 times more value than the appliances.
That's right. So the question isn't, can I afford professional marketing? The question is, can I afford not to have professional marketing? Because every month that you go without it, you're just bleeding money and it's hurting your asset value.
All right, Fody. So we're going to address the elephant in the room. Well, actually, there's 4 of them because we hear the same objections over and over. And I do get it because they're legitimate questions, but I think the answers surprise people, right? So number 1, shouldn't marketing be included in my property management fee? And again, here's the thing. Some management companies do say that marketing is included, and technically they're not lying. They're including whatever minimal effort they can afford within that management fee structure. But we're going to do some quick math on why that doesn't work. A typical property management fee is, let's say, 8% of gross revenue. On a 65-unit property at $2,000 a month, we're talking $130,000 in monthly gross. So the management company is collecting just over $10,000 per month, right? Out of that, they're paying for everything: their payroll, their overhead, etc. If they tried to deliver actual professional marketing within that fee, they'd have to allocate $2,000 out of that $10,400 just to marketing. So that's nearly 20% of their revenue going to one function. The math doesn't work. So what happens? They end up doing the bare minimum and call it included. You get your Facebook post, you get your apartments.com listing, and that's about it.
And here's what investors need to understand. Would you rather have marketing included and get nothing, or pay separately for marketing and actually get some results? Because those are the 2 options.
Exactly. And the property management companies that are honest about it will tell you up front, The management fee covers operations. If you want professional marketing, that's a separate line item because it requires separate expertise and infrastructure. The companies that aren't honest about it will say it's included, and you're going to find out 12 months later why the property is underperforming. So let's move on to objection number 2. And this one is so weird, and I know it catches us off guard every single time, but it's the cost per lease. Do you remember when someone said they got their lease acquisition cost was $200?
I do.
And they were like, why is yours so much higher?
Yes, I remember having that conversation. And, the crazy thing is that they actually believe that. But let's unpack this because there's so much wrong with this statement. First, how are you calculating cost per lease? Are they just dividing their monthly ad spend by the number of leases signed? Because that's not how cost to lease works. True cost per lease includes things like your search ad spend, your social ad spend, your ILS fees for that month, the cost of maintaining your website, your SEO work, your design costs. So when someone tells you they got a lease for $200, what they're really telling you is they don't know how to calculate cost per lease. They're looking at one piece of the equation and just ignoring everything else.
It's kind of like saying your car only costs $50 a month because that's what you spend on gas. It's completely ignoring the actual car payment, the insurance, the maintenance, and your registration, right?
No, absolutely. That's a perfect analogy. And here's the other problem. Even if their calculation was correct, which it's not, what's the quality of that lease? Did they approve someone with marginal credit who's going to be a problem resident? Are they going to pay on time? Are they going to stay for more than 6 months? Or are you going to be doing an eviction in 8 months that costs you $10,000? We see competitors coming in at what they claim is $1,500 to $2,000 cost per lease, but they're offering 1 to 2 months free in concessions. So the real cost is $3,500 to $4,000 per lease. But more importantly, we're tracking the right metrics. We know our cost per lead. We know the lead to tour conversions. We know our tour to application rates. We know these numbers because we're running this professionally with proper tracking and analytics. So when someone tells you they got a lease for $200, I would ask them, what's your cost per lead? What was your lead to tour conversion rate? What was your tour to application conversion rate? What concessions did you offer? What's your resident retention rate? They won't have these answers because they're not tracking any of it.
All right. So objection number 3 is a tough one because I think most of us are actually guilty of this. And it's not really understanding the purpose and the functionality of a website. We have people ask us, can you just make the logo bigger? Or what if we change the color scheme? What if we just add more photos? What do you think of that, Fody?
This objection tells me the investor doesn't understand what makes a website convert. They're thinking about aesthetics, not performance. And look, aesthetics matter. A property needs to look good, but a pretty website that doesn't convert is just an expensive brochure. So let's look at a few things that actually make a website perform great. One of them is load times. So if your site takes more than 3 seconds to load on mobile, you've already lost 40% of your visitors. Another thing that's important is having a mobile first or mobile responsive design because 70 to 80% of your traffic is coming from mobile devices. Also, your conversion architecture. So can someone schedule a tour in under 60 seconds? Can they submit an application without getting frustrated? Are your forms positioned correctly? Are your call to actions clear? Is your navigation intuitive? Team, remember when we took over that site and we could not submit the inquiry, like none of the forms would work, everything was broken.
Oh, and this is where, and I learned this very recently, your UX and your UI expertise comes in.
That's right. User experience and user interface design, this is a specialized field. It's not about making things look pretty. It's about understanding how users interact with the website, where they click, where they drop off, what frustrates them, and what converts them. So when we build a custom website, we're looking at heat maps showing where users are clicking. We're running A/B tests on different layouts. We're optimizing form fields or reducing friction at every step of the journey from landing on the site to submitting a tour request. So making the logo bigger doesn't really do any of that. Changing the color scheme doesn't do any of that. These are aesthetic decisions, and they might make the owner feel better, but they don't move the needle on the conversions.
And here, we all know that I am fashion over function all day long, but here is the hard truth. Sometimes what the owner thinks looks good actually hurts conversions. And they want a giant hero image at the top of the homepage because it looks really cool. But that pushes all the important information down the fold. And most users never scroll down. They just kind of bounce around everywhere.
Exactly. Or oftentimes we'll see this pop-up that covers the entire screen. It's asking for an email address before someone even has a chance to see the property or the information. That definitely kills your conversion rate, but it looks professional to someone who doesn't really understand user behavior. This is why design decisions need to be driven by data, not opinions. We can show you exactly how changes impact conversion rates because we're tracking everything. Template sites, they can't do that. Your leasing agent can't do that. Professional marketing is where you get those metrics.
And here's the last objection we're going to talk about today, right? It's your ILS. And what is ILS?
Apartments.com, Zillow, rent.com.
Why are those not enough? Why do I need anything else? That's what we hear all the time. And this is probably the most common objection we hear. And I do understand why you ask these questions, because you're paying that $500 to $1,500 per month for those ILS listings. You see your property on these sites, you're getting leads. So why isn't that enough? So here's why. You're one of 50 properties on apartments.com in your market, and you all look exactly the same layout, same structure, limited photos, basic information. The only differentiator is your photo, your price, and your reviews. That is it. It's a template.
And most of the time, we're seeing properties compete on the ILS through their concession, right? So one is 1 month, the other's 2 months. Well, the other will push it to 2.5 months. That's how they're competing on the ILS because they don't have a lot to work with.
So if you're in a competitive market, and most markets are, then you're in a race to the bottom on price. And that is why you're spending a fortune on professional photography and hoping that's enough to stand out, but it's not. And operationally, what I see is leasing teams just drowning in low quality leads, because there is no pre-qualification. There's no filtering. There's no way to ensure that you're actually attracting your specific target demographic.
And here's what most investors don't realize. The ILS sites are pay to play. The properties at the top of the search results aren't there because they're the best properties. They're there because they're paying for a premium placement. So you're already spending $500 to $1,500 per month just to be visible on these platforms, and you're still just one of many properties in a sea of sameness.
Compare that to having your own high performance website that you actually control, right? Somebody is searching apartments near downtown Reno on Google, and your website jumps up first because of the SEO work that's been done. They land on a fast loading, beautifully designed site that showcases exactly what makes your property special. And they can take a virtual tour. They can see floor plans. They can read different reviews, check all your amenities, schedule a showing, all of that on your website. It's a completely different experience than scrolling through 50 identical listings on apartments.com. And that different experience is what converts browsers into residents.
And here's the other piece. When someone finds you on an ILS site, they're comparison shopping, right? They're like looking at your property and then as well as others, and they're doing this all at the same time. Price matters most to them because everything else looks the same. So when someone finds you through your own marketing, through your own website that's ranking in Google, or through your targeted Facebook ads or your search campaigns, they're not comparison shopping the same way. They came to you specifically because your marketing reached them. The context is completely different, and your conversion rates are way higher because of this.
You know what? The ILS sites, they don't give you control, right? And we've had people talk about this where they didn't have control over what was out there and how it was being presented. So they changed their algorithms and they changed their fee structures. They'll change what information is displayed, and you're just kind of at their mercy. Your own website, you control the messaging, the positioning, the user experience, how the path of conversion goes, all of it. So understand this. ILS sites are necessary. They're part of your marketing mix, but it can't be the only thing you have in your arsenal. It's just not sufficient. It's not enough on its own. You need the full ecosystem that we talked about earlier. Okay, so now let's jump into an actual little case study that we have, right? This kind of proves everything that we've been talking about. You hear us talk about this theory and numbers all day, but nothing drives the point home like a real example. So we took over a 70-unit property in downtown Reno. Great location. Walking distance to restaurants, bars, entertainment, the river. Class A building. Great units. So cute. This is the kind of property that should practically lease itself. But when we took it over, it was sitting at 80% occupancy for almost a year. The owner was frustrated, bleeding money every month. And frankly, they were exuding a little bit of desperation. Here is the thing. The owner was also stubborn, which is fine. They refused to invest in a custom community website, and they didn't want to invest in professional marketing. So the directive to us was really simple. Just focus on retention. We can't afford marketing right now. And Fody and I, we tried to explain that, you're in one of the most competitive multifamily markets in Northern Nevada. You're competing against other Class A properties with professional marketing, great websites. very sophisticated digital campaigns. You're trying to win a Formula One race in a pickup truck. But ownership wouldn't budge.
So we just did what we could do with the retention strategies. But here's the reality. You can't retain residents if you can't attract quality residents in the first place. And from a marketing perspective, we were completely hamstrung.
So we sat on the ILS, apartments.com, Zillow, you name it. We were right there with everybody else in the market. Same platform, similar photos, nothing to really make us stand out. And we were stuck at 80% occupancy month after month after month.
And let's talk about what that year cost is to the owner, because this is important. At $2,000 average rents, this 70-unit property should have been generating $140,000 in gross monthly income at full occupancy. At 80% occupancy, they had 14 empty units. That's $28,000 per month in lost rent, or $336,000 annually. But it wasn't just lost rent. Because the property wasn't performing, expenses were higher. More turnover meant more turn costs. They were offering concessions to try to attract residents, 1 to 2 months free. So that's another $2,000 to $4,000 per lease in giveaways. The leasing team was burning out too. They were just chasing these garbage leads from the ILS sites. And then from an NOI perspective, this property should have been running at maybe 30% expenses with good operations. But instead, they were creeping towards 40 to 45% because everything was harder than it should have been.
And operationally, I was watching this train wreck in slow motion. Our team on the ground was doing everything right. Maintenance was responsive, customer service excellent. The property actually looked really good, but we could not fill units because we had no way to reach the qualified prospects. We were just dependent on whoever happened to be, scrolling through apartments.com. So after nearly a year of this, ownership finally listens. They were in too much pain. They were bleeding out. They were like, okay, we can't keep ignoring them. So they approved a custom high-performance community website paired with some great marketing strategies. And this is where Fody's expertise really came through.
And what we did was we built a custom website. And while the cost was about $20,000, what this gave them was a fast-loading, mobile-first, conversion-optimized website. We showcased the downtown location, all the nearby amenities, the walkability, everything that made this property special that you couldn't communicate on the ILS listings. Then we launched the full marketing ecosystem, search ads targeting people looking for downtown apartments, social campaigns on Facebook and Instagram with geo-targeting, SEO work done to dominate local search, professional photography and design work to make everything look cohesive and premium. So the monthly investment was about $2,500 for the ongoing marketing once we had all this in place.
The results were almost overnight. Within 2 months of launching that website and marketing strategy, we went from 80% to 95% occupancy. 2 months, 60 days. And we held that 95% position because we now had the tools to compete.
And let's talk about what that means financially, because this is where it gets really interesting. At 80% occupancy, they had those 14 empty units, remember? And then at 95% occupancy, they had 3 to 4 empty units. So basically just natural turnover. That's a swing of 10 units or $20,000 per month. That's $240,000 in annual revenue that went straight to their NOI. But the impact was bigger than just the occupied units. With real demand coming through the website and marketing campaigns, we stopped offering concessions. No more 1 month free, no more 2 month free, no more desperate discounts. On a property with 40% annual turnover, that's 28 leases per year. Eliminating 1 month free concessions saved another $56,000 annually. And the expenses came back down. With better resident quality from better lead quality, we had less turnover, fewer evictions, lower maintenance costs. We got back down to that 30% expense ratio that well-run properties should have.
And the team wasn't burning out anymore. They were working with qualified leads who actually wanted to live downtown, who could afford that rent, and who appreciated what the property offered. The job became much more enjoyable instead of just chasing around those tire kickers all day.
And I love to look at the numbers, so let's just do the asset value calculation real quick. At 80% occupancy with 40% expenses, this property was generating maybe $840,000 in annual NOI. At 95% occupancy with 30% expenses and no concessions, the NOI jumped to approximately $1.2 million annually. That's a $336,000 annual NOI increase. And at a 5% cap rate, that's $6.72 million added in asset value. So the owner spent $20,000 on the website and $2,500 per month on marketing, which is $30,000 annually. They They spent 50,000 total in that first year to unlock 6.72 million in asset value. That's a 13,340% return on investment.
That doesn't even sound like a real number, Fody.
No.
It's so sad. It did not have to take a year. And if ownership had been a little more receptive to us day one, that's 12 months of lost NOI we could have prevented. 12 months at 20 grand to 28 grand per month is 240,000 to 336,000 in revenue that just poof, went away, gone. So because they thought they could not afford marketing.
That's true. And the real cost wasn't even the lost rent. It was the lost time. If they had been planning to sell or refinance, they couldn't during that year, not even if they wanted to. The property wasn't performing. Lenders don't want to touch a property at 80% occupancy. Buyers discount heavily for underperforming.
And this wasn't even a bad property. It was not a bad location. This is not a bad market. This was actually the perfect property to market. It had an amazing location, tons of amenities nearby, walking distance to everything, all the things that people actually want in urban living. And we could not portray any of that by sitting on the ILS next to all these other Class A properties with these, really nice pictures. The website and effective social strategy and search ads and design work changed the game completely. This is what we mean when we say marketing is not an expense. It's the engine that's going to drive your asset value.
And when investors tell us they can't afford professional marketing, what I want to tell them is they can't afford not to have professional marketing. They just don't realize it yet. The owner learned that lesson the hard way, $336,000 in lost revenue later.
But at least they learned.
That's true.
Some owners never do. And they keep thinking if they just find a cheaper property manager or they squeeze expenses tighter, that things are going to improve. And you just can't cost cut your way to success in multifamily. You really have to market your way to success. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. What professional marketing actually is, what it costs, what it delivers, the objections investors raise. But let's get practical. How do you know if your property is one of the ones bleeding money right now? What are the red flags that should have you asking some serious questions? And on the flip side, what are the green flags that tell you that your property is set up to win? Because not every investor listening to this is going to switch property managers tomorrow. Some of you are locked into contracts. Some of you have great relationships with your current property manager and you just want to make improvements. So we'll give you a quick checklist that you can use starting today. Red flag number 1, and this is the biggest one. Your property manager cannot show you last month's marketing metrics. If they're not tracking your cost per lead, your lead sources, the conversion rates, they're not optimizing anything. They're just spending money and hoping that something is going to work. And hope, again, is not the strategy. So here's what you should be able to ask for and get within 48 hours. How many leads did we generate last month? What was our cost per lead? Where did the leads come from? Google Ads, Facebook, ILS, etc. What was our lead to tour conversion? And what was the tour to application rate? What was the application to lease?
And if they can't produce this data, this tells you everything that you need to know. They're pretty much flying blind. They have no idea what's working and what's not, and they can't tell you if spending $1,000 on Facebook ads generated any leases. They can't tell you if your website is converting visitors or if they're just bouncing after 5 seconds.
Without data, there's just no accountability. Without accountability, there's no improvement. Without improvement, you are just hoping that your property is performing. Hope is not going to pay for that mortgage.
No, it's not. And red flag number 2 is going to be marketing is included in your management fees. So we've talked about this extensively today, but it bears repeating. If a property management company tells you marketing is included in their 6 to 8% management fee, what they're really telling you is they're doing the bare minimum and calling it marketing. The math doesn't work for them to do real marketing within a standard management fee structure. So what you get is someone posting on Facebook when they remember, your ILS listings that you're already paying for separately, and maybe a template website that looks like every other property's template website. Real marketing requires dedicated budget, dedicated expertise, and dedicated time. So if it's included, it's not really real.
Here's the risk you're not seeing. You think you have marketing handled, so you're not investing in it yourself. Meanwhile, your competitor who understands this are investing $2,000 to $3,000 per month in professional marketing strategies, and they're dominating the market. So you're showing up to a gunfight with a butter knife and wondering why you're losing. Red flag number 3, your leasing agent is also your marketing person. Nobody can do both jobs well. It's like asking your maintenance tech to also do your accounting. These are completely different skill sets that require full-time attention and specialized expertise. Your leasing agent should be focused on converting those leads into leases. They're responding to the inquiries and they're conducting the tours. They're following up with prospects. They're processing the applications and handling move-ins. That is a full-time job. Marketing requires someone who understands Google Ads bidding strategies, which I didn't even know was a thing, Facebook audience targeting, SEO technical optimization, website conversion rate optimization, design principles, and analytics interpretation. That is also a full-time job. So when you ask one person to do both, they're going to do both poorly. And usually what happens is the urgency takes priority. The showing appointments, the handling the resident issues. Marketing falls to the bottom of that list and it just doesn't get done.
And even if your leasing agent wanted to do great marketing, do they have the certifications? Do they have the training or the experience? Have they managed $100,000 in ad spend? Do they know how to interpret Google Analytics data? Can they build a high converting landing page?
Probably not, because I can barely say all that stuff. And honestly, it's not their fault. That's not what they were hired to do. It just means your marketing is just not happening.
Agreed. And red flag number 4, you don't have a Google Ads account. Or if you do, someone else is just handling it and you can't access it. So if your property has any kind of paid search advertising happening, you should be able to log into the Google Ads account and see exactly where your money is going. You should be able to see which keywords are generating clicks, what the cost per click is, what the conversion rates are, and how much total budget has been spent. If you can't access this, then you have no control over your marketing spend. And in our experience, when an investor can't access their own ad accounts, it's usually because the performance is pretty terrible and the property manager doesn't want you to see it. So we've taken over properties where the previous PM was running Google Ads campaigns with click-through rates under 1%, cost per lead over $150, and zero conversion tracking set up. They were literally burning money with no idea if it was generating any leases.
And here's the thing. If they're doing this with Google Ads, they're probably doing it with everything else too. There's no tracking, no optimization, no accountability. Red flag number 5, your website was built on a template. We talked about this today, but I want to emphasize it because it's so common. Template websites are conversion killers. They look like every other property in your market. They're not built to convert. They don't represent your specific community, and they usually don't even look that great. So how do you know if you have a template site? Few telltale signs. It looks almost identical to other properties' websites in your area. It's slow to load on mobile, and the forms are clunky or they're hard to find. There's generic stock photography instead of real photos of your property. The design elements are just poorly positioned, so you can't easily schedule a tour or submit an application.
And here's the test. Go to your website on your phone right now, time how long it takes to load, then try to schedule a tour. Can you do it in under 60 seconds? If not, you're losing the majority of your mobile traffic, and mobile is 70 to 80% of your traffic.
Those template sites convert at 2 to 4%. A custom site converts at 12 to 18. That's not a small difference. On a property getting 1,000 site visits per month, that's the difference between 20 leads and 150 leads.
And red flag number 6, no one can tell you your cost per lead or where your leads are coming from. This goes back to the metrics issue, but it's specific enough that it deserves its own red flag. If your property manager can't tell you, last month we generated 47 leads at an average cost of $32 per lead with 22 coming from Google Ads and all the details that you need to know to understand your marketing performance, they really have no idea what's working. And if you don't know what's working, you can't optimize. They're just throwing money at different channels and they're hoping for the best.
You can't make informed decisions about budget allocation. So maybe your Google Ads is generating leads at $25 each with a 50% conversion rate, but Facebook is generating leads at $80 each with a 15% conversion rate. You should be shifting your budget from Facebook to Google, but you can't if nobody's tracking it. So are we noticing a pattern in all these red flags? It comes back to data, tracking, and accountability. Professional marketing is measurable. Every dollar spent should be tracked, and every lead should be sourced. Every conversion should be analyzed. When you don't have this, you're not doing professional marketing. You're just spending money and hoping that it works. Hope is expensive. So if your property is showing 3 or more of these red flags, you need to have a serious conversation with your property manager. And if they can't address these issues, you need to start looking for someone who can.
That's right. Now let's flip it. What are the green flags that tell you your property is set up to win? What should you be looking for if you're evaluating property managers or just trying to improve your current situation? The first green flag, you have a dedicated marketing professional or a specialized company that actually knows multifamily, not a generalist who manages single family, commercial, and multifamily, not someone's leasing agent who took a weekend course, A real marketing expert with portfolio experience, certifications, and a proven track record in multifamily specifically. This person should be able to show you other properties they've marketed, the results they've achieved, actual numbers, not vague claims, and how they plan to replicate that success for your asset.
And when you talk to them, they should speak fluently about things like quality score in Google Ads or audience segmentation in Facebook, technical SEO, conversion rate optimization. See, I learned all those things from Fody. If they're throwing around buzzwords without really understanding them, that is a red flag disguised as a green flag. Green flag number 2, you get weekly or monthly marketing reports with specific metrics, not just, oh, here's how many leads we got. You get a detailed breakdown, the leads by source, the cost, the conversion rate at each stage, website traffic and behavior, performance metrics, review velocity. These reports should be easy to understand. You should not need a PhD in marketing to interpret them. They should clearly show what's working and what's not, and what changes are being made to optimize performance.
And here's the thing. These reports should show trends over time, month-over-month comparisons, year over year if you've been working together that long. You should be able to see if these things are improving or declining and why.
Transparency equals accountability. If your property manager is producing detailed reports every month, they're confident in the performance. If they're a little vague or avoid giving you the data, this is going to tell you a lot.
Green flag number 3, you have multiple lead sources that are actively managed and optimized individually. You're not just relying on apartments.com and hoping for the best. You've got Google Ads campaigns running, Facebook and Instagram campaigns, SEO traffic coming to your website, direct traffic coming from people who already know about your property. Referrals are coming from current residents, maybe even some TikTok or other platforms if that makes sense for your demographic. And each of these sources is being tracked individually, optimized based on its performance and adjusted as needed. If Google Ads is outperforming Facebook, more budget shifts to Google Ads. If organic traffic is converting better than paid traffic, more resources should go into SEO.
So that's what we mean by an integrated marketing system. It's not just throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. It's strategic allocation of resources based on data and performance. Green flag number 4. You've got a custom website built for conversion, not a template that looks like everyone else's. Your site loads fast, under 3 seconds on mobile. It looks professional and it represents your specific community accurately. It's easy to navigate. The forms are simple and positioned correctly. The calls to action are clear. You're able to schedule a tour or submit an application in under 60 seconds.
And behind the scenes, it's built on solid technical foundations, clean code, proper site structure, schema markup for search engines, mobile-first responsive design, integration with your property management software, analytics tracking, conversion tracking, all of this matters.
Test this yourself. Go to your website on your phone. Schedule a tour, time it. If it takes more than a minute or you get frustrated, your prospects are getting frustrated too. And a frustrated prospect does not become a resident. They just go somewhere else.
Green flag number 5, your marketing is being handled by certified professionals with real portfolio experience. Google AdWords certified, Google Analytics certified, actual experience managing significant ad spend. We're talking $100,000 plus over the course of their career, not $500 last month. They should be able to show you specific properties they've worked on, the results they've achieved, cost per lead, conversion rates, all of the different things that you're looking for. Real numbers though, not just marketing speak.
And they need to stay current. Digital marketing changes constantly. What worked 2 years ago is probably not going to work today. Green flag professionals are continuously educating themselves and attending conferences, staying on top of algorithm changes, and testing new strategies. Green flag number 6, and this is critical. You have a clear marketing budget that's separate from your management fees. You know exactly what you're paying for marketing. You know what's included in that budget, what your ad spend, design work, website maintenance, SEO, all of those things. There's no confusion about what is covered and what's costing extra. And you can see the ROI. You can see that you're spending $2,000 per month on marketing and getting $10,000 per month in additional revenue from higher occupancy and eliminated concessions.
This is called transparency, and it's crucial because it allows you to make informed decisions for the community. If marketing is included and buried in the management fee, you have no idea if it's worth it. But if it's a separate line item with clear deliverables and clear results, you can accurately evaluate it.
Here's the thing. When marketing is a separate line item, the marketing company has to prove their value every month. They can't hide behind, it's included. They have to show you results or you can cut the budget. That accountability makes them better at what they do too.
So there you have it. 6 red flags that mean your property is bleeding money, or 6 green flags that mean you're set up to win. Where does your property fall on this spectrum?
And here's what I want you to do this week, right? We really mean it. Not someday when I get around to it. Do it this week. Go through this checklist. Score yourself honestly. How many red flags do you have and how many green flags do you have? If you have 3 or more red flags, you need to have a serious conversation with your property manager. It's not an accusatory conversation. It's a productive one. Hey, here's what I learned about some marketing. Here's what I'm not seeing. How do we fix this?
Some property managers will be receptive to this. They'll acknowledge the gaps and they'll work with you to improve. Maybe they bring in a specialized marketing partner, or maybe they invest in training. Maybe they restructure how they handle marketing.
Some managers might get defensive and they might have some excuses, and they're going to tell you that this is just how it's done. They're going to insist that that approach is fine and that you are being unrealistic as a client. If that's the response you get, that's your answer. They're not going to change, and every month you stay with them is a month of lost NOI and asset value.
Because remember the downtown property story? That owner lost $330,000 in a single year because they waited too long to invest in professional marketing. Don't be that owner.
Your property deserves better. Your investment deserves better. You deserve better. Professional marketing isn't a luxury for multifamily properties. It's a necessity. And the sooner you treat it that way, the sooner you'll see your property perform the way it should. All right, we covered a lot today. We've talked about what professional marketing actually is, what it can cost, what it delivers, and how to know if you're bleeding money. So make this actionable. What should you do this week to evaluate your property's marketing situation? Action item number 1, request a marketing audit from your property manager. Ask for the last 90 days of data. Look at the lead volume. Look at the sources, the cost per lead, the conversion rate. If they can produce this in 48 hours, that's a great sign. If they can't, or if they push back a little bit, that tells you everything you need to know. Don't accept vague answers. Oh, we're getting a lot of leads. That's not an answer. You need numbers. How many? From where? At what cost? What was our conversion rate?
And if they tell you they don't track that information, ask why not. In 2026, with all the tools available, there's no excuse for not tracking basic marketing metrics. If they're not tracking, they're not optimizing. And if they're not optimizing, you're wasting money. Action item number 2, test your property's digital presence yourself. Don't take anyone's word for it. Go look for yourself. First, Google your property name plus apartments. Where do you show up? Are you on the first page? Are you on the second page? Or you can't even find it at all? This tells you immediately if your basic SEO is working. Then Google apartments near and your specific area, whatever landmark or neighborhood is closest to your property. Do you show up in the map pack, the local 3-pack of Google My Business listings? Do you appear in the organic search results below that? If you're not on the first page, you're pretty much invisible to most searchers.
Here's the important part. Don't just look on your computer. Do this on your phone. Again, most of your prospects are searching on mobile and the results can be different.
And just be sure to check out your whole website on mobile. Time how long it takes to load. If it's more than 3 seconds, you're losing prospects. Then try to schedule a tour. Can you do it in under 60 seconds without getting frustrated? If you're getting frustrated as the owner who knows the property, imagine how your prospects feel. Fill out the contact form, send an inquiry, book a showing if that's an option. Track how quickly you get a response. If it takes more than 15 minutes during business hours, you're probably losing leads. People are comparison shopping. If your competitor responds in 5 minutes and you respond in an hour, guess who's going to get the tour?
Check your Google business listing while you're at it. Is the information accurate? Are there recent photos? Are reviews being responded to, both positive and negative? That's free visibility that most properties completely neglect. Action item number 3, pull out your property management agreement and review it. What specifically is covered under marketing? Is there a separate marketing budget line item, or is it supposedly included in your management fee? If it's included, go back, look at what you're actually getting. Make a list. Facebook posts, how many per month? ILS listings, you're paying for those separately. Your Google ads, how much is being spent and where can you see the results? How about that website? Is it custom or template? When you actually inventory what included marketing means, you'll probably realize you're getting very little for what you've been paying.
And here's a critical question that's often overlooked. Who actually owns the marketing assets? If you paid to have a custom website built, who actually owns it? If you've been running Google Ads for a couple years, who owns that account and all of the historical data?
This really matters because if you ever change property managers, you need to take those assets with you. We've seen situations where an owner switches property managers and discovers they don't even own their website. The old property manager does, or they can't access their Google Ads account because it was set up under the PM's business account, not theirs.
So make sure your agreement is clear on this. The marketing assets should belong to you, the property owner. The property manager is managing them on your behalf, but they're your assets. And if that's not clearly stated in your agreement, get it amended. Action item number 4, calculate what underperformance is actually costing you. We've given you the framework today. Take an hour and run the numbers for your specific property. What's the difference between your current occupancy and 95%? Multiply that by your average rent. That's your monthly revenue loss. Multiply by 12, and that's going to be your annual loss. How much are you spending on concessions? 1 month free, 2 month free? How many leases per year? And then add all that up. What are your actual expenses as a percentage of gross revenue? If you're running at 40 to 45% instead of 30%, calculate what that's costing you monthly and annually.
Then take those numbers and divide by your cap rate to see the asset value impact. This is the number that should scare you because you're not just losing monthly income, you are destroying your equity.
And when you see that you're losing 3 to 4 million or more in asset value because of poor marketing and or operations, suddenly spending $24,000 a year on professional marketing doesn't seem so expensive anymore. It seems obvious.
Action item number 5, have that conversation with your property manager. Not accusatory, productive. Come prepared with data and specific questions. Hi, I learned about these marketing metrics. Can you show me our numbers? I see that we're running at 88% occupancy. What's our plan to get to 95%? Hey, we don't have a custom website. Can we discuss why and what it would take to get one?
And pay attention to how they respond. Do they get defensive? Do they make excuses? Do they blame the market conditions or other external factors? Or do they acknowledge gaps and propose solutions?
A good property manager is going to welcome this conversation. They're going to appreciate that you're engaged and want to improve performance. They have ideas and strategies. They might even say, hey, you're right. Our marketing isn't where it should be. Let's put together a proposal and see how we can move this forward. That's the response that you want. You want someone that's going to collaborate with you.
But if they dismiss your concerns, insist everything is fine when it clearly isn't, or tell you you're being unrealistic, that's your answer. They're not going to change, and every month you stay with them is money down the drain.
So before we wrap up, let's talk about what's coming in this series. Today was the foundation. It was understanding what professional marketing is, why it matters, what it costs, and how to evaluate your current situation.
But we've only scratched the surface. Each component of professional marketing deserves deep exploration. So here's what we're covering in the next 4 episodes of this marketing series.
Episode 2 is paid advertising that actually works. Fody is going to break down Google Ads, Facebook, Instagram campaigns, and how to maximize your ILS placement like apartments.com and Zillow. We're talking about bidding strategies, audience targeting, budget allocation, and what good performance actually looks like. You're going to learn what separates campaigns that generate qualified leads from campaigns that just burn money.
And episode 3 is all about organic visibility, and that means being everywhere your prospects are looking. This is where we cover SEO, GEO, and AEO, how people find you without paid ads. We'll show you how to dominate local search, optimize your Google My Business listing, build high-converting websites, and manage your online reputation. This is the foundation that keeps generating leads for years without ongoing ad spend.
Episode 4 is the leasing funnel, how you take it from inquiry to a signed lease. Because generating leads is only half the battle. You have to convert. We'll walk through what happens after someone contacts you, why response time matters so much, how to conduct tours that close, and where most properties lose deals. This is where marketing meets operations.
And episode 5 is building your marketing machine, your strategy, budget, and execution. We bring it all together to show you how to build a complete marketing system for your community. We'll cover what to do in-house versus outsource, how to allocate your budget, the technology stack you actually need, and how to measure ROI. Whether you're doing a lease-up or managing a stabilized property, you'll know exactly what your marketing roadmap should look like.
By the end of this series, you're going to understand professional multifamily marketing better than 95% of property owners and probably better than most property managers. You'll know what questions to ask, what metrics to demand, and what results are realistic, and what you should be paying for.
And you'll be able to make informed decisions about your community's marketing strategy, whether that means improving what you're currently doing, bringing in specialized help, or making a change entirely. You'll have the knowledge to do it right.
Here's what we want you to take away from today's episode. Marketing isn't an expense. It's an investment. It's not something you do when you have extra budget left over. Well, there's no such thing, right? It's foundational to your property's performance. Every month you go without professional marketing is a month of lost NOI. Every year you go without it is destroying your asset value. The downtown property we talked about earlier that lost $330,000 in a single year, don't let that be you.
And the beautiful thing is, marketing ROI is measurable. You can see exactly what you're spending and exactly what you're getting. When it's done right, the numbers are undeniable. You spend $24,000 and create $4 million in asset value. That's not marketing magic, it's just math.
It does require expertise. It requires systems. It requires dedicated focus. You can't include it in a good management fee and expect results. You can't hand it to your leasing agent and hope for the best. You have to treat it as a critical business function.
And look, some of what we said today might be uncomfortable if you're realizing your property doesn't have any of this. That's okay. The point isn't to make you feel bad, it's to help you see what's possible. We've seen communities transform in 60 to 90 days with professional marketing is implemented. We've seen occupancy jump from 80 to 95%. We've seen concessions disappear entirely. We've seen asset values increase by millions of dollars. It happens when you do this right.
And we do want that for your property. We really do. Whether you work with us or someone else or build this capability yourself, we want to see more properties operating at their full potential. Because when properties perform well, everybody wins. Owners, residents, property managers, the entire ecosystem.
So do the work, run the audit, test your digital presence, calculate your real costs, have those conversations, and join us for the next episode where we dive deep into paid advertising.
Thanks for listening to our podcast, guys. If you want daily property management tips, follow us on social media. You can also subscribe to our monthly newsletter at nextlevelpm.co. It's packed with valuable information for multifamily investors. See you next time.